Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Lunch Room Syndicate. Jay, did you have something this time? Actually prepared. Okay.
No, this
I,
is your video.
I didn't. Okay. I want to make sure.
Hello and welcome back to the Lunchroom Syndicate. Jay and Christopher here to bring you another all-time NFL team. Today we are going to be doing the Las Vegas Oaklanders of Los Angeles, known as the Raiders. You know what they do keep pretty consistent, though? The silver and black.
They have always been the silver and black. And if you're new and just joining us on our all-time series, let's take a quick second here to explain kind of how we pick our teams. A lot of it is we do use stats. We do go by feel. We do go by name recognition for us as well as just overall. We take into account Hall of Fame and a whole bunch of other things as well.
Yeah, so what's going to be our top tier today?
Our top tier is going to be... Let's do silver.
Silver top tier. Sounds good.
Yeah, I like black. I like the color black, but I just don't feel like it should be a top tier color.
Yeah, well, we're going to be going here as usual. We're going to have 11 players on the offensive side, 11 players on the defensive side. It's going to be one quarterback, two running backs, three wide receivers. We're sticking with picking tight ends. I think we do have at least one here that's going to be worthwhile. Mm-hmm. And then to round out the remaining spots for offense, it's going to be four players from any position. That gives us a chance to take a look at kickers, linemen, and if there's any like second quarterbacks or anything. What are we picking up on the defensive side?
On the defensive side, once again, as you mentioned, we are picking 11 total players. We are taking two defensive linemen. That encompasses both defensive ends and defensive tackles. We are also doing three linebackers, four defensive backs, and similar to offense, we have an alternate defense where we can pick from any position, including punter. But first, let's start where we usually start, talking about the face of the franchise.
The face of the franchise.
Jay, I will let you start first. Who do you think is the face of the franchise for the Los Angeles Raiders?
Yeah, I do appreciate that you're gonna let me go first here because you don't even have an argument after this. It's a very obvious one. It's Gene Upshaw.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know you wanted me to go with a flashier guy. You wanted me to go with one of the skill positions. This might be the only time we don't go with one of the skill positions, but Gene Upshaw is the best player in Raiders history. Gene Upshaw should be the first person you think of with the Oakland Raiders. Gene Upshaw helped turn around a struggling Raiders team and turn them into a fairly dominant one for quite some time.
I love your pick, and I will contend that I think we will have one other non-flashy face of the franchise later on down the road. Not going to spoil that right now. But I am going to go with flashy because, quite frankly, when I think of the Oakland Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders, or Los Angeles Raiders, the guy I think of is one of the top wide receivers of all time, Tim Brown. Tim Brown, over 1,000 catches before it was cool. One of the all-time great players in NFL history. Overshadowed a bit throughout his career because he played in a similar time frame as Jerry Rice, but he was very comparable in a lot of different ways outside of, obviously, stats. Ironically, they played with each other for a while, but he was just as flashy of a player, had incredible speed, was a much faster player than Jerry Rice was. We have a bit of a decision to make. I'll be honest, I was not prepared for Gene Upshaw, and I kind of like that. I really actually like that a lot. I'm not going to default. I think you win the argument. I think Gene Upshaw is a really, really good pick. It was not the pick I expected. I thought you were going to go with Charles Woodson, if I'm being honest, but we'll talk about him in a little while. But let's go where we normally start with these, at the quarterback position. Quarterback position for the Raiders, the man who played that guy in Home Alone, Derek Carr. What is that hairdo? Tom Flores, Rich Gannon, Daryl LaMonica, Jim Plunkett, and Ken Stabler.
How about Kenneth?
Old Karen Stabler. Hairdo aside, Ken Stabler, easy silver tier, all-time great. 150 touchdowns, almost a 1-to-1 interception ratio, but again, playing a bit of a different era. But the only Hall of Fame quarterback for the Raiders that is on the Hall of Fame because he was a quarterback. And I could say that because there's two guys who is in the Hall of Fame who's played quarterback for the Raiders at times. Tom Flores is one, and there's another one we're going to talk about a little later. But he's the obvious choice here, Ken Stabler.
And we're off to running back. That's going to cover halfback or fullback, and probably not too many fullbacks. And I don't think we have one here. So we're looking at Marcus Allen, Pete Banaszak, Mark Van Egan, Bo Knows Best, Josh Jacobs, Tyrone Wheatley.
Starting off with Marcus Allen, easy silver tier.
Easy.
Hilarious that had the spat with Al Davis, ended up leaving the Raiders for their arch rival on purpose, left for the Kansas City Chiefs. That makes me laugh too, but he's an easy silver tier here.
And you already know where I'm going with Bo Jackson here. He's got to be silver, and he's going to have the lowest amount of yards for any halfback that we are going to put into a top tier. But again, when he was playing, like, everybody knew Bo Jackson. Everybody talked about Bo Jackson. Everybody loved Bo Jackson, a star in college, and he came into the NFL and he didn't slow down at all. Multi-sport athlete. Bo Jackson's a silver tier.
When you talk what if for careers in sports in general, but especially in the NFL, Bo Jackson's probably the biggest what could have been, what if. We are moving on
to the wide receiver slots.
Wide receiver spots.
We're picking three between who?
We have Fred Belitnikov, Cliff Branch, Tim Brown, who we talked about earlier. Look at those abs, Jerry Porter, Art Powell, Jerry Rice. Yes, he played for the Silver and Black. And Warren Wells.
Tim Brown, we talked about pretty extensively earlier, silver tier. He's going to be the number one guy. As we got Fred Belitnikov, who is the second best wide receiver for the Raiders.
Oh, yeah. Easy silver tier. Not even particularly close.
Yeah. And I know we're probably not going to be talking a whole lot about Fred here. Just know Fred Belitnikov, easy, number two. How about Cliff Branch?
Cliff Branch is an interesting one. He has the same amount of touchdowns as Tim Brown. He doesn't obviously have the receptions and yards, and less games. For me, he's a silver tier too.
Off to tight end, we are picking one between Dave Casper, Raymond Chester, Todd Christensen, Ricky Dudley, and Darren Waller. In other words, we are picking one among Dave Casper.
Dave Casper is a choice, yes.
He's like a top 5 tight end, period.
Yeah, he's an easy silver tier here. He's easily the selection.
Okay, and well, we are now on to the Alt-O spots. And joining Todd Christensen, Ricky Dudley, Art Powell, Jerry Rice, Tyrone Wheatley, and Daryl LaMonica, who we have already talked about, is Hall of Famer George Blanda, Sebastian Janikowski, Lincoln Kennedy, Hall of Famer Jim Otto, Hall of Famer Art Shell, face of the franchise Gene Upshaw, and Steve Wisniewski. Art Shell, when we were talking earlier, and I'm like, hey, I wouldn't even say Tim Brown is the second best player because we got one on the Aldo spot. It was Art Shell that I was talking about. He played next to Gene Upshaw, and the two were just like, fuck you, you're done.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Otto.
Jim Otto. Just look at the stats here.
Yes, I still like Daryl LaMonica on there. Well,
I think we'd take in this situation we'd take Daryl LaMonica more seriously than I put him in the quarterbacks. Well, I put him in the quarterback. I think he should be in this running. He might even make it for me because he was a very well known quarterback. And then when you talk all time teams, I think a lot of people would pick LaMonica. I mean, not over Ken Stabler, but as a number 2.
I know. I'm looking at it going, why don't I know this name?
I do know the name Jim Otto. I obviously well before my time. 12-time Pro Bowl, 10-time first team All-Pro. Absolute unit of a player for the old school Raiders teams. Easy silver. All right, but next up we move on to the defensive side of the football, and we will go to our defensive lineman category, in which we have the best mustache in the sport, Ben Davidson, the Ike Lassiter, Hall of Famer Howie Long, Khalil Mack, sorry Raiders fans, Chester McLaughlin, Warren Sapp, Otis Sistrunk, and Greg Townsend. Is this the one I had another guy, or is it linebacker? I had another guy on this list, and I found out he was a convicted murderer. I'm like, nope. But let's get out of the way the obvious number 1 pick here.
The obvious number 1 pick is when you're like, oh, I would have gone Charles Woodson. And I'm like, yeah, he was kind of up there. There was somebody else on defense that I was thinking of before Charles Woodson, and that is Howie Long.
Howie Long.
Very, very close for me to be in the argument for face of the franchise. He's an easy silver tier, an easy number 1 on here.
Absolutely. Greg Townsend, silver tier. We're going to have a decision to make. 107. He is the sack leader for the Raiders over Howie Long. 107 sacks, 107 and a half sacks in 174 games. 3 interceptions from the defensive lineman spot. Gotta talk about that. The only one that had multiple interceptions. Only a 2-time Pro Bowler. Feel like he got a bit gypped on the Pro Bowl and first team all selections, but for me, he's a silver tier.
Yeah, and for me, he's our number 2 selection.
He is our number 2 selection. Now we move on to our next position. We're moving on to the linebacker spot. And that linebacker, we have Dan Connors, Ted Hendricks, Rod Martin, Matt Millen, and Phil Villapiano.
You missed a golden opportunity to take our running gag and you just shat on it here.
What's that?
Dan Connors.
You know what? No. I'm making an executive decision right now. I am changing his picture as we speak.
Rod Martin's got to be silver then.
Rod Martin's a silver tier. 56 and a half sacks, 14 picks from the linebacker spot. Damn good player.
Ted Hendricks, Hall of Famer. I still don't know if that's an actual thing that's going on or if that was added in after the fact.
I think it was something that he was wearing. When I looked at the picture, when I got the picture, it was what he was wearing. He is a Hall of Famer, and he's a silver tier. 42 sacks from the linebacker spot, 10 interceptions, 4-time Pro Bowler, 2-time first-team All-Pro.
Oh, man, that's a funny motherfucker.
Oh, dude.
I didn't realize he played football, too. I know he talked about it a lot on the show, but I didn't realize he made it all the way to the NFL. Yeah, the dude, he cracked me up all the damn time. He's a silver tier.
He's a silver tier. All joking aside, this is probably a silver tier player anyway.
And then defensive back. I cheated ahead a bit earlier because, this is my favorite position. And hey, let's take a look here. There's 5 guys that need to be in this 4 and then one that I should be considering more to be in the 4 that's just on the outside comparing him to the other 2.
We're talking about Nanande Asamuga. It's Asamoah for the record. Willie Brown, Hall of Famer. Lester Hayes, Mike Haynes, Hall of Famer. Terry McDaniel, Van McElroy, Jack fucking Tatum, and Charles Woodson, Hall of Famer.
Okay, so we already we already mentioned we have 2 black tier guys. They're probably white tier in comparison.
Yes.
But no, we're not playing that fucking game. They are black tier fucking players, which means everyone else is a fucking silver tier player. So we might as well just fucking get that out of the fucking way here. I think there's a clear number 1 on here.
Charles Woodson.
It's Charles Woodson.
Yeah, Charles Woodson. You make me like you that much, and he's a Michigan player.
Yeah.
I love Charles Woodson. He's legitimately my favorite Michigan player. I'm a Buckeye fan. He's legitimately one of my favorite players of all time in the NFL, and not just because he's from close to where I live. Charles Woodson is one of the greatest defensive backs of all time. I'll argue top 5 for sure, and I would make a case for all-time greatest, but I don't think he's quite there.
Okay. Now we have 2 other Hall of Famers who are both, clearly deserving of a Hall of Fame position.
Mm-hmm.
And then for the number 2 spot, I'm going to argue for somebody who's not in the Hall of Fame for number 2.
The other guy on this list is probably the hardest hitting safety ever.
Ever. Flat.
He changed the game. He's one of the reasons why we went to Jack, the assassin Tatum. He's when you talk about hardest hitters, Jack Tatum's usually what people say is number 1 or pretty fucking close to it. One of the most brutal people in NFL history. Again, his play changed the game. They had to change the rules because of him.
He's my number 2.
He's my number 2 too. It looks like number 3 should be Willie Brown.
Willie Brown's number 3.
He's number 3. Great corner in the 60s and 70s eras Raiders. So number 4, you might look at Nnamdi Asomugha's stats and go, he only had 11 interceptions in 122 games. He shut down the field. Nobody threw to him. Again, he played in the Meyer era where when you have that shutdown guy, nobody throws to that side of the football.
Yeah. Not even you don't throw to his man. You didn't throw to his side of the field. Mm-hmm. What Darrelle Revis did, he did first. All right, alternate defensive spot. We only have 5 guys here, and we only have one unique one. We have our second punter who's made a team. Ray Gee,
the only punter in the Hall of Fame, so I had to include him on this list. He's the only strictly punter. He's not making it.
The more I look at the stats of Lester Hayes, I know Mike Haynes' name more, but he's a Hall of Fame guy. But looking at the stats, the more I like Lester Hayes.
I'm with you. I think Lester should be in the top 2.
So we're putting Lester up?
Yep.
Now we're between a Hall of Fame player and a future Hall of Fame player. And Khalil Mack is that damn good.
Yeah, Khalil Mack will almost assure.
3 Pro Bowls in 4 years here.
2 first-team All-Pros.
2 first teams.
40.5 sacks in only 64 games. He played in every game he could with the Raiders. Cannot believe they didn't want. I get it. You paying an end $100 million is a lot of fucking money, but god damn, was he worth every penny of that? I got the Bears would make that trade again.
Okay, so now off to our entire offensive lineup. We have Ken Stabler taking the snaps, throwing to Tim Brown, Dave Casper, Fred Belitnikov, Cliff Branch, which is a pretty solid receiving core there.
That's fucking real good.
You got 3 in the Hall of Fame that he's throwing to. That's pretty damn good. And if once they get up by a bunch, then Daryl LaMonica can go in. He's still going to be putting up some points. We got an awesome split backfield with Marcus Allen and Bo Jackson. And just a tremendous offensive line with Jim Otto, Art Shell, Gene Upshaw.
All right. But that is our offense, a damn good one.
Defensive line, or not line, but our defensive lineup. Man, it's another really good one. We have up front Howie Long and Greg Townsend, Khalil Mack playing between linebacker and defensive line because we're not going to misuse them. Rod Martin, Ted Hendricks, and Roseanne's husband at linebacker. And we are so stacked at fucking defensive backs. We have 5 of them out on the fucking field. We're permanent nickel.
We are permanent nickel. That's exactly what we are.
Charles Woodson, Jack Tatum, Willie Brown, Asamoah, and Lester Hayes. Thank you for joining us here at the Lunchroom Syndicate at the Jock Table. I hope you enjoyed our Raiders all-time team. Until next time, thank you, and deuces.
And George Blanda played for a lot of teams. He only played relatively in retrospect 126 games with the Raiders, but he played a long time just in general. But
he's too fucking ugly to put on the team. I put him black. I think he's a name that you would see on lesser tier lists. People who don't do this the proper way, like the Lunchroom Syndicate. Those who just go through and like, hey, who's top 50 players?
Nobody does it like we do it.